Good morning, Flosstube. I'm Misty Purcell. Welcome to my channel. I'm also known as Luminous Fiber Arts on Instagram and Etsy. Welcome back. Welcome if it's your first time. Today is Monday, the 19th, I think, of August. Classes start in a week. A little stressed, a little nervous. Classes are pretty much ready to go. Just have to transition my brain to teaching again. Hope you've been having a good couple of weeks. Hope you've been getting lots of stitching in. So let's just dive right into what I've been up to. This is Flosstube number 40. I guess I missed the golden birthday Flosstube thing by one. So I guess I could stop making videos now for like 2 years and then I could catch up, but whatever. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just ignore it. So what have I been doing? I saw on Instagram, on Amity Vintage and Craft, I believe is her name, Cynthia. She posted recently that she'd taken a trip to the Tabor Museum in Williamsport and that they were having a sampler exhibit. And I was like, what? Williamsport's like an hour away from me and I didn't know there was a sampler exhibit there. She drove like 4 hours to go see it. So I quickly looked it up online and saw that it was running until like September 1st and checked with my friends to see if they wanted to take a little road trip and when we could go. So we went yesterday. There was also a Proctor lecture that I wanted to check out and that happened to be yesterday. So we drove to the museum and looked at the samplers. They're samplers from the United States and from England. I think they were mostly 1800s, but I think there were some 1700s. And oh my gosh, they were amazing. So the exhibit is called Make Much of Precious Time, and it goes on, but Make Much of Precious Time is enough. And it was a collection from the director's personal collection plus someone else's collection that he knew. I don't remember exactly how many there were, maybe 60 some samplers on display. They were just awesome. And even if you're not someone who stitches a lot of samplers, going to see them in person is just so amazing. So I really recommend the exhibit if you're within driving distance. It's in Williamsport. I'll link the exhibit below the video so that you can look it up. There are a couple of pictures on the page of samplers, and the first photo of a sampler was one of my favorites of the whole exhibit, and it had it had satin stitching around the border that kind of looked like a sawtooth or a zigzag. I don't quite know what to call it. And then it had a satin stitched basket with these beautiful flowers, and it had butterflies, and oh my gosh, it was amazing. So getting to see that in person was really cool. And then there was one other sampler that I just fell in love with. I guess I must like satin stitching and silk because those were a couple of things that I found I was drawn to. So I'm just so happy that I got to go. The Proctor was also interesting. It was about Central Pennsylvania Proctor in particular and artists from this general area or who may not have been from this area but were doing Proctor in this area. So that was cool as well, and just had a great time and recommend the exhibit. I think I got the impression from what the director said that it might actually still be up through September instead of ending on September 1st. So if you can't make it by September 1st, but you'd like to see it, maybe call the museum just to verify. Got my trusty cup of coffee. Today we're not doing Halloween, although I still love Halloween, don't worry. But I got this at an arts festival that we have here. We have 2 of them every summer. There's the People's Choice Festival and Arts Fest. I don't know, Central Pennsylvania Festival of the Arts, whatever. One of them is on the university campus and the other one is down the street in Boalsburg at the Military Museum, outdoors. So at the Boalsburg People's Choice Festival, did I call it the right thing a minute ago? I don't even know. Whatever. I saw this and I was like, oh my goodness. Now I love this shade of green and I love this plant, organic kind of shape. Oh, it's a really nice mug. I love the handle, I love the weight, I love the glaze, I love everything about this mug. So this was one of my splurges. Sometimes I don't get anything. Some years I'll get a mug or something else, but I had to have this. And I just really admired her work, and she's going to be at a craft fair at Christmas time, and I might have to get another one. She had some other ones that weren't, that were flat and had this design painted on them in really pretty colors, and I was like, I might have to get another mug. So we'll see. But I'm still enjoying my Creep It Real mug, so I alternate between this one and that one right now. Is there anything else I want to say about the sampler exhibit? I don't think so. It was just awesome and inspiring. Really inspiring. And it's just amazing what young people can do. Yeah. And props to them for all that stitching. Some of them had, if you look on the website, one of the samplers has like braided locks of hair on like a tree that's really cool with these ribbons tied to it. And that one was a really remarkable sampler, I thought too. I mean, I don't know how common that was, the way that it's done on that sampler, but it was really, really cool. So you can see a picture of that as well on their website. They have like, I think just 2 samplers there. The director owns like 90 samplers, he told me. And he got interested because his grandmother had a sampler that was stitched by his great-grandmother or great-great-grandmother, and it came from Germany to the United States, and it was hanging on his grandmother's wall, and he was just kind of fascinated that it had made that journey and kind of interested in it in general. And one day his grandmother asked him if he wanted it, and he said yes, and apparently that just started his collecting. So that's kind of a neat story. Okay, so what else have I been up to? I just released a new design, so I'll talk about that. I'm going to talk about a finish that I had, 24 hours of cross stitch, the marathon that I did, and whatever else. I've got a list so that I don't have to remember stuff. So I released a new design over the weekend. We're coming up on my 1-year anniversary of designing and dyeing fabric, so that was pretty cool to realize that I've almost had a year from when I started, or well, when I released it anyway. So I started with a Halloween design, and now I'm coming full circle with a fall Halloween design again. And this is part of my bird series. So the first one in the bird series was a bluebird's message. And then there was a bluebird's salute. So these are all the same basic size. They all kind of have a similar style with a border. They're all finished the same way. They're all on the same color of linen, which is the soft porcelain. And so the next one in this series is called A Raven's Reply. And this was a really fun piece to design and stitch. So when I thought about what do I want to do next in the series, I thought, well, okay, what kind of bird should I do for fall/Halloween? And kind of went through my mind, and then I was like, oh, I think I want to do a raven. And then as soon as I think of a raven, I think of Poe. So I reread Poe's The Raven. And man, that's a good poem. I had a book of Poe's like poems and short stories as a kid from one of those like Scholastic book clubs or something. I remember reading as a kid and liking it then, and I've just liked it, you know, for years. It's just like a really good, spooky poem. And, well, the rhyme's really good. I don't know. It's just a great poem. So I didn't want to like try to make it too much like Poe's story, but I just wanted a little bit of the elements of Poe, a little bit of spookiness, a little bit of eeriness. So I had pretty early on the idea that I would have a raven and then the phrase nevermore, and I was just trying to decide what else should be in the design. And this went through a million iterations, and I got kind of stuck. Like it had kind of a wrought iron look to it at one point. And then there was a moon behind the raven. At one point the raven was on a branch. It had a witch hat. I was all over the place. And I just got, I mean, I felt like it's good, but I wasn't like excited to stitch it yet. And that's how I know when something is done. When I'm like, oh, I can't wait to stitch that, then I know I'm done designing. And until that point, when it's just a good design, I'm like, I'm not done. So I got stuck at good. And I thought, well, okay, what has to be in this design? And just scrap everything, take everything out and start over. And I was like, well, the raven has to stay because it's awesome. And I really want Nevermore. So I got rid of everything else that I had in the design, including the border. Even though I was really attached to that border, I really liked it. It just was kind of heavy and it just wasn't working in the end. So I tried a bunch of different things, and I started something I've started doing recently. I don't know how other people design, but I like to have options. My arm's getting tired of holding this up. I like to see how something looks in different ways. And so sometimes I'll design something side by side and I'll do different versions of it so that I can see simultaneously, does this look better one way or the other way? I had like 4 versions going on one page of Mac Stitch. At one point it was like, kind of looked like a tarot card, and I was like, could that work? And it just didn't make sense to be a tarot card, but it was a cool idea. And I don't remember what the other variations were, but yeah, I tried different things. I really like designing that way because then I also don't have to like erase and redo a bunch of stuff. If I've got kind of several versions going, I can kind of go back to one. And it, like I said, it also just lets me play around. Like if I move this way, or if I change this color, what does that do to it? So I really like seeing what happens if I just tweak something a little bit. I think that's, for me, that just helps a lot. So that's one thing that I've learned relatively recently about how I like to design. So that was my process. And I mentioned at some point in my videos a while ago that I used to blog, and there was a badge you could put on your blog. You could take the process pledge. And I think this was a quilting thing more than anything else. And it was basically that you were pledging to talk about your process and not just show like finished object photos. Like it just magically appeared and was, you know, came into being without giving any explanation of how you made it or what your process was, just so people could understand, you know, a little bit about you and what you're doing. So I still like to talk about process because I think it's interesting. I like learning about other people's processes. And so I just wanted to share that. This is stitched, my version is stitched 1/2 on 40 count soft porcelain, which I do have in my shop. I did it on linen, but you can stitch it on, I have even weave. So I have Geana, I think I have a little bit of Linda, and I have Ada. And some linen, but not 40 count. I think I'm all out of the 40 count at the moment. And this was stitched, this is my first time designing with some Gentle Arts flosses, so I have some of those, as well as Weeks flosses in this design. In this design, I didn't use any DMC, but I give a DMC suggestion for each of the flosses that are in the design in case you want to use non-overdyed flosses. So, Gentle Art Butter Crunch was one of the colors. Blackboard. Now, depending on the fabric count you use and how many strands you use, you may need 2 skeins of the Gentle Art Blackboard. Fragrant Clothes, that's what's the border. This color is amazing. I so loved working with this color. You may have, if you buy a floss pack from me, I have floss packs in my Etsy shop, you will have either Bittersweet or Weeks Dye Works Daylily as a sub, because I could only get yay much Bittersweet. They were low on it. And then Weeks Dye Works Sweet Potato and Cayenne. And then it calls for Gentle Art Uniform Blue, but I could not get Uniform Blue. I tried for months to get it and they just didn't have it yet. So I put as a substitute Blackboard Okay, so don't get confused. There's black blackboard for the bird, gentle art, and then as a substitute, if you can't find uniform blue, or if you're buying one of my floss packs, you can use Weeks blackboard for the gray on the vines and the stem. So, what else do I want to say about that? Oh, the pattern is available in my shop as a print copy. And my printer does a really nice job. This is cardstock. It's a good quality cardstock and color on the front. I'll flash you the back. So I've got it in print and PDF in my shop. This will be arriving at Hoffman this week, so it'll be in the Friday update, I believe. So if you're a shop or you'd like your shop to order it for you, you can ask that starting this week, starting Friday. So yeah, I really had a good time doing this, and I'll tell you a funny story about this. I want to mention the trim first before I tell you the funny story. The trim is a vintage trim that I had in my stash that's gray, and I had started with orange, and I thought I was going to use orange with orange beads, and it looked really cheerful, and I just wanted this to be a little bit more moody, and so I went with the gray. So if you want cheerful, you could do an orange ribbon. If you want moody, I suggest gray. I noticed that Lois of Lady Dot Creates has a gray that looks like it could be nice for this, so you may want to check out her ribbon offerings. And I used, as always, Vanna's awesome tutorial for the ruching of the ribbon with the beads, so I'll link Vanna's tutorial below. I'm always in debt to Vanna for her awesome finishing tutorials, and these beads are a size 11 bead that I picked up at Michael's that are like a metallic kind of grayish bluish black. So the funny story is that I had this design finished, I had it all stitched. I wasn't sure about the eye of the bird. It was bigger before. I'd done it on the computer, it looked good the way I had it. I had it gray with a white outline. When I stitched it, it looked terrible. And so I was like, okay, maybe I just need to leave the eye empty. So I had like a 4x area where the eye would be empty. And I was like, I'm not sure. So I let it sit. I showed it to someone, I think it was my friend Cynthia, and I was like, does this eye bother you? And she's like, no, I didn't even notice it. And then I showed it to my mom, and I'm like, does this eye bother you? And she's like, well, not till you said anything. I came back from Michigan, and I looked at it some more, and I wasn't certain. And I'm like, it's probably fine, and I'm overthinking this, because I'm good at overthinking. I had it sewn up into a pillow. I hadn't stuffed it yet. I think I was waiting on something. And I was looking at it and I'm like, the eye is just not right. Like when I look at the design, the first thing I see is the eye. And that's something that I really pay attention to in a design is like, what does my eye do? Where does it go to first? What is the movement of my eye? And I got that from quilting and crazy quilting. And so that's really important to me that your eye doesn't just stay in one place when you look at a design. Like there are certain things that I want you to maybe notice first, but I don't want you to be stuck on one thing in my designs. So I pay attention to the shades of colors, the scale of things, how I'm using empty space, etc. in my designs. And that eye was just like, my eye was going to the eye. I don't know about other people's eyes, but my eye went straight to the eye and it would stay there. And I was like, I can't leave this. So I had it like fused with the fusible Pellon. I had a piece of Kona cotton sewn onto the back of it. I had it sewn into the pillow. And I decided that what I needed to do was make the eye smaller and make it 1 dot instead of 4 dots. So I'd played around with it on the computer to see if that would work. And I was like, oh yeah, that's way better. So I had to like, I'm insane, but it worked. I stuck my hand in the opening on the back of the pillow. This took forever. And, made 3 X's through all of that stuff somehow. And I'm glad I did. It was a good change. So now I know, lesson learned, that if something feels not right to me, and then it keeps feeling not right, then it's not right. So I'll listen to that. You know, it's one thing if it bothers you for a day or a couple of days and then you're like, no, that's fine. But if it's like been a couple of weeks and it's still bothering me, then that tells me something. So I'm going to pay more attention to that now. So that's my funny story about how I thought I was done. And then I like tried to do more to it. And turns out you can sew through several layers of fabric to cross some X's if you have to. Okay, so thanks for hearing my story about A Raven's Reply. I have a Christmas version that I'm stitching right now, so I'm excited about that, and it's really fun. So looking forward to sharing that with you in the not distant future. I had a finish. Started May 11th, finished August 11th. That was coincidence. I didn't time it like that. This is Where There Are Bees. This is reprinted by Hoffman, Prairie Schooler. And I did it for my Very Prairie Year stitch along that I'm hosting with Barbie and Helen. Many of you are joining us, so thanks for joining. I love how it turned out. I'm super happy with it. If you've been watching for a while, you'll remember that I changed all the colors. And I think it's lovely. This is stitched on 32 count linen, the color's linen, by Weeks Dye Works, and I used DMC for my flosses. So I stitched this on for the 24 hours of cross stitch, August acrostic, and also for the 24 hours marathon. And I was like, I am getting this done during the marathon. That is just, it needs to be done because I'm honestly ready to move on from summer at this point. Even though summer is awesome, I'm like full on fall. So glad this is done and I'm very happy with it. And it was a pretty quick stitch. I was just slow about it, but it was a pretty fast stitch. And it did take, I estimated that I had about 4 hours left on it, and that was pretty close to correct. So during the 24 hours of cross stitch marathon, which happened not just this past weekend, but the weekend before, I think it was like the 7th to the 9th. And by the way, if you haven't seen, Jen announced that there's going to be one in October. I want to say it's the first weekend in October, but I'm not certain about that. Anyway, so for the 24 hours of cross stitch marathon, I worked on that. I had a new start, and then I rotated 2 of my whips. So let's look at my whips that I rotated, and then we'll see my new start. Making sure I have everything over here. Okay, so I worked on Away We Ride by Blackbird Designs. This was my birthday start. You'd think I'd be done by now, but no. No, not done. I'm stitching this on my macchiato linen, 40 counts, and I filled in the house. The house is looking awesome. And I fondly call this the Weasley house because it reminds me of the Weasleys from Harry Potter. Mine looks a bit darker. My house looks darker than in the picture. So I don't know, maybe my skein's darker or maybe it's just the lighting. Doesn't matter. It looks awesome. I'm happy. I'm not complaining. So I'm still really enjoying this stitch. At some point I should really get back to that hardcore border, but I think I'll enjoy the house just a bit more before I move on. But I do need to keep doing that border because it's insane. So my goal, so I worked on that during 24 hours and my goal is to put 8 hours total in on that this month. I'm not doing so well with the monthly part of the challenge. I've met 3 of my goals out of 10 and it's the 19th and classes start in a week. So there you go. I think I'm gonna fail again. I only got in, this is kind of embarrassing. I don't even know what to tell you about it, but I only got in like, oh, I got in 10 hours of stitching for the marathon. I thought I only did 5 somehow. I was like, this seems low. I did about 10 hours of stitching. I was hoping for 12. I decided to take off spontaneously and go to Lancaster one day so that cut into my stitching time, but it was fun. Because the weather was nice and I was like, hey, I haven't been there in a while. Let's just go. So we did. So I worked on Away We Ride, and then I worked on Bitter Brew from Hands On Design. And I am stitching this on 32 count Whisper. I really like it on the gray. This was my new color that I released last month. And I'm using Weeks Dye Works instead of the called for flosses because I pretty much have Weeks Dye Works. So mine are a little bit more intense colors, I think, than the chart, the model. So that's coming along. That was part of my marathon stitching. I'm not sure if I'm going to add the purple in on the bird wings or not. I haven't decided. And I haven't filled in this part with the leaves because I'm not sure if the gray that I chose has quite enough contrast. So I'm gonna wait and then fill it in once I get a little bit more done. I'm probably at the point where I can, but I just wanted to think about it a little bit more. I am stitching this in hand using the sewing method that Priscilla and Chelsea shared. And I think it's looking pretty good. With 2 strands, it's a bit harder. I don't think my sewing method looks as good as my scroll rod stitching, my 2-handed scroll rod stitching. But I figure if I keep working at it, I can only get better, right? So I'll just keep practicing. Let me talk about my scroll rods for a minute because I pretty much get a question every video about them. These scroll rods that I use are made by Artisan Design. They have a website. I don't know if they do wholesale. I get the sense that they don't, or at least they don't say anything on their website about doing wholesale. They make floor stands and lap stands and these lock scroll rods. And if you're right-handed, then you want this on the right side because this is what you're tightening. They're easy to grab. They're easy to tighten. They use a dowel to hold your fabric in place. I'm working on finding some time to do a video about how I use them and how I use my stand. I noticed the last time someone asked me about these in the comments, I went to their website to get the link for this person, and it says in huge font on their webpage, like their homepage, that because of Flosstube, they're having some trouble keeping up with orders. Like there's just been too much, well, not too much demand, but demand. There's been a lot of demand, increased demand for their product. And there's just the 2 of them working as fast as they can. So it took it takes longer now the last time I ordered from them than previous times. It probably took about 6 weeks maybe after I paid before my order shipped. So I suppose you could always ask them if they have an estimate, but it could be a bit of time if you order, just so you know, if you don't happen to see that on their website. I'll link their website below. I do like the scroll rods. I haven't used other brands of scroll rods, so I cannot compare them to Roll a Frame or anybody else because I don't have any experience with that, but I like them. Loading them can be a little bit tricky, but it gets easier with time. I'm very happy with the tension. It's very nice. It's easier to do with a stiffer fabric than a looser, softer fabric. So higher count linen is easier to get in there straight than lower Weeks, because their fabric tends to be more loosely woven. That one is harder to get straight in there and get even. Ada would be much easier. I would say Lugana is probably harder. There are things you could do, like sew a strip of fabric to the top of your fabric that would be tight, like a firmer fabric. It gives more bulk, but then it would give you like maybe a nice piece of fabric that fits in there snugly that you don't have to adjust so much. I don't know, it's just an option. Speaking of Weeks, I'd mentioned in my last video, and you've probably heard if you've been watching other people's floss tubes, that They're starting to use a Zweigart base for their fabrics. So I called and I asked them about that in case I would want to carry some of their fabrics at some point. And my understanding is that they are doing Zweigart base in some of the colors 36 count and higher. So they gave me a list. It was maybe like 10-ish colors that they have, and 32 count is not included at this time. So it'd be like 36, 40, and some of the higher counts that they're working on. So just wanted to let you know. Anything else I want to say about that? Nope, I think that's it. I'll tell you about my new start. So for the 24 hours of cross stitch marathon, I felt I needed a new start. And I saw Jerry, Yankee Creek Stitcher, stitching this a while ago. I don't know if she's done, I don't recall. And then Christy was talking about this as well, Java Girl Stitches. And she and Crystal were doing a stitch along. I think it started August 1st. It's called CC Hallows Eve Sal for Christy and Crystal, a CC. And I was like, I will join you. I am happy to do that. So I'm using all the called for flosses. I don't have hickory sticks at the moment, so hopefully I'll get that. I'm stitching this on 40 count Whisper. So Whisper, I did not like think when I dyed it, oh, this will be great for Halloween, but it's turning out that I'm really liking it for Halloween designs. So I started this and then worked on it periodically as I've had time. I really like it. I love this font of the text. And it's just a fun stitch. So I'm also doing the sewing method. It's a stitched 1/2. I do have a bit of Whisper in my shop if you're looking for some. I'm just enjoying it. I don't know what else to say about it except that I like it. And, you know, it's interesting to use other people's color palettes. So I'm enjoying working with the flosses that maybe like if I were doing it, I wouldn't necessarily choose the exact shade, but then I get to learn about that color and like, you know, look at it more closely. So it's always interesting. Although I do like to change colors at times, it's also interesting to use other people's palettes so that you get exposed to other colors that maybe you'd want to design with or use just in general. So I think that's pretty fun. Anything else about that? Nope, I think that's pretty much it. I've been watching Stitching with my bestie, Geana and Tina. They are so fun. They have 4 videos out now, and I like their projects, and they're just really, like, they have a nice relationship, a nice rapport. So if you haven't checked them out, please do. I'll link them below the video. What are my plans? Okay, well, one plan is just to stitch all the fall things and all the Halloween things this month, and I'm doing a pretty good job of that. A Very Prairie Year sale. I would like to start something now that I finished Where There Are Bees, but there's not that many days left in the month. What I'm thinking about in my head is doing a Halloween ornament for the tree, which still has the Christmas on it because I can't bear to take it down. And I'm thinking of stitching them 1/1 so that they'd be really tiny and cute on this tree. What, you know, how realistic that is, I might get one done, but I'm thinking of at least doing one. Will I start it this month or will I wait till next month? I don't know yet. I got a lot of model stitching to do, so it kind of depends on that. So that's one thing, is like the Very Prairie Year sale. What's my next thing? What am I doing right now? Well, clearly I'm stitching all the fall things. And another thing that I was thinking of doing is having I had a summer solstice start, which was the Brenda Gervais Strawberries and Stripes piece. Wow, glad I remembered that. Brain's like doing better than usual today. And so I thought I would do like an autumn equinox start as well. And then I was watching Leah Noel, Aviatrix Stitcher, and she was talking about having a birthday start. Her birthday falls on the autumn equinox this year, so I believe that's September 23rd. So she's going to do a stitch along with this really cool design. I'm not going to stitch that. I'll stitch something else. I haven't decided what, but I'm starting a new start on September 23rd. I'll be back before then. It's not like I'm not going to see you for a month. I guess I'm just putting it out there. I don't know why. I'm just telling you my plans. I have some candidates. I feel like I want to do something that's been sitting in my stash for a while, or something that I've been just dying to stitch for a while that hasn't necessarily been in my stash a long time. So I have like 2 or 3 ideas. We'll see. I mean, it's a whole month, so anything could happen. My mind, you know, I could change my mind 10 times before I start. But anyway, that's what I'm thinking about. So feel free to join in. Who doesn't want an excuse for a new start, right? Okay, let's talk about a few things that I got, and I need to clean up a little bit, so I'll be back. Okay, so first, and I'll just show a couple of things. Mary Beth was one of my giveaway winners last time, and she was so sweet, and she sent me some gifts. She sent me several. I'm just going to show you a couple because I do want to keep this short, but it was very kind of her, and you never have to send me anything. It's very appreciated, but you never need to. And she was very kind, and she sent me this card, and she made me some awesome crocheted cloths. These are cotton. Isn't that so pretty? So thank you, Mary Beth. This is very patriotic. Since I appreciate, well, one, I appreciate all handmade things, and I know how much work crochet is. I very much appreciate it. So that was awesome. So thank you, Mary Beth. She's very sweet. I picked up a few things. First, I'll tell you about, I got this at Joann's. I've been waiting. I started following the Margaret Sherry feed on Instagram. I don't know if her daughter runs it now, or I'm not sure who's running it, or her family, but they posted that this was coming out. You can get it online, but then someone had mentioned, I was like waiting to see if it would come to Barnes & Noble or someplace, and someone posted on Instagram that they'd gotten it at Joann's like a week or so ago. And then I kept thinking there was something I wanted at Joann's and I couldn't remember what it was. And it was this. So I finally got over there the other day. I've been waiting for someone to show like a flip through, and no one would show a flip through. I won't take the time to go through the whole thing, but I'll just show you. One, it's full of charts. Some of them don't have models, they just have drawings. So there's stuff like I can't even show you. But there's a little bit of Christmas and Halloween. Margaret Sherry's awesome. So I had to, you know, show my appreciation and purchase this. So did I show you the knitting one? There's a knitting one that I was especially, I'll see if I can find it quickly. Probably not. Nope, not quickly. If when I find it, I'll post it on Instagram, or maybe I'll stick it in the video or something. Okay, anyway, this was an item I recently purchased. This got reprinted. I got some for my shop. I had to get one for me because if it goes out of print again and I don't have one, I'm gonna be like so mad at myself. I never noticed this basket. How awesome is that basket? So I had this and then it sold out quickly. So if you need me to get you a copy, you can let me know and I'll see if I can get more. I don't know how many prints they're gonna do. So that was another thing that I got. And then when I went to Lancaster the other day, I stopped at both cross-stitch shops in that area. It was just like, usually in summer in Pennsylvania, you have storms in the afternoon. It just seems like constantly. And then we had these few days where it was sunny and there were no storms and it was cool at night. And it was just amazing. And the days were pleasant. And so I was like, let's go to Lancaster because it's nice. So we did. So I had been wanting to get this for a while and I could not get it from the distributors, but I found it at Hodgepodge. And this one, I feel like I saw this at Stitches Unlimited last year and wanted it and didn't get it. And then I was there again and I still wanted it. And I was like, did I get that? I don't think so. And I didn't. I checked. This is by With Thy Needle and Thread. It's called Strawberry Hill sampler. It's probably something I should get from my shop at some point because it's awesome. Okay, so those were my purchases from the local shops. Tried to support the local shops. I went to an antique shop and found like the mother lode of old cross-stitch charts. So I don't know if I've seen this one on someone's channel before or not. These cardinals seem vaguely familiar, but that's what I bought this for, was the cardinals. They remind me of Charles Wysocki. Can I get it to focus? Just something about them is, or Charles Wysocki. What am I saying? Charlie Harper. Wrong Charlie. I've been doing a lot of Charles Wysocki puzzles lately, and I'm about to show you Charles Wysocki. Hence the insanity. Can you believe I found this for $3? I couldn't believe my luck. So I'm pretty psyched about that. I think I gotta stitch this one. And then I found this one. Can you believe I don't have this? Is it possible that I don't have all the Prairie Schoolers? Turns out, yes, there are still some I don't own yet. So this was one of them I didn't own yet. This is the only Prairie Schooler they had. I thought for sure that when I found all those old charts, I would somehow find like an amazing stash of Prairie Schooler, but there was just that one. And then this one I got, I thought it would be kind of fun to do as a giveaway at some point. I hadn't seen it before. It's by Fancy That. And I just thought it was a cute seasonal piece. Wreath for All Seasons, Volume 2. And I like, is it Wilbur? Charlotte's Web, is that right? I don't know. That story was always sad for me, so I read it once and then I was like, I'm done. I don't like stories. As a kid, I did not like stories where someone died. Which was pretty much every if you think about it, it's like every kid's story ever. So this will be a giveaway at some point, so you can look for that. Every kid's story. Someone's parent dies, their friend dies, someone dies. Kids' stories are more violent in a way than you think, or sad anyway. Okay, those were the things I got. The winner of the Just Cross Stitch Magazine Halloween issue is Shireen McDougall. Shireen, I commented on your comment, so please get in touch with your mailing information so I can send this out to you. Congratulations. And I have a new giveaway. So last time I mentioned that I had ordered Booby's Apiary from Amanda May of Artisan Design. And I believe that Michelle Garrett said there's a stitch along starting for this. So check out her video for more information because I don't recall when it's starting. But Amanda May was kind enough to send me a second one, and she said to share it with a friend, and I was like, can I share it on Flosstube with my Flosstube friends? And she said yes. So thank you. That's very kind of you. And I'm going to ask you to, if you're interested in winning this giveaway, make sure to mention the word honey in your comment and tell me, do you like honey? And how do you like to eat it? For example, do you eat it on like a biscuit or a scone? Do you have it in tea? You don't like honey? Just tell me how you feel about honey and how you like to consume it or how you don't like to consume it. And this chart is just adorable. So I'm really excited that I got one, and I'm excited that I get to share one with you. So thank you so much, Amanda May. Okay, so let me talk about the next giveaway, and then I'll talk about the rules for the giveaways. So, next giveaway. New color coming out next month. It's a light gold. This is the linen version of it. I'm in the mood for fall colors, so I thought a light gold would be awesome. It's a little bit more gold. That's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty accurate. Yeah, I've been having fun coming up with new colors for fall, so this is one of them. And I thought it would be fun to have you help me name this fabric color to kind of involve you a little bit. So the giveaway is that if you would like to be eligible to win a piece of this color, you can win a fat eighth. I will choose one winner, and you're going to help me name it. So please mention the word fabric. You can say something like, I would name the fabric, blah. It should be 1 word or 2 words because I have to write out the fabric name by hand on all the tags, and I can't write out like really long names or like 10-word names. So 1 word or 2 word if you want to name the fabric. So you can say, I would name the fabric, you know, whatever, 1 word or 2 words, and you can offer me your suggested name. And if I choose your name, like if I think, like I'm going to pick whatever one I think is the best name that I like the most. There'll be plenty of good names, I'm sure, but I'll pick my favorite. And then that person will win a fat eighth of the color, or the fat eighth of that color on either linen, Lugana, Linda, or Ada you would pick. And you can tell me the count. It has to be one that I normally dye. It's possible that multiple people will offer the same name. So what I'm going to do when I decide is I'm going to go through the comments and I can sort them in the order that they came in. So I will go with whoever said it first, according to YouTube. So I'm going to sort by like newest first, and I'll scroll down to the bottom. So if 10 people say the same thing and that's what I pick, I'm going with the person who says it first. Just so you understand how I'm doing it. I'm not picking favorites. I'm picking a favorite name, but then I'm just picking whoever said it first. So you may want to offer more than 1 name. That's fine. I know that you don't want to spend hours scrolling through all the comments. I don't blame you. So be as creative as you can if you'd like to join in. If you don't want to join in, that's fine. So the 2 giveaways will close August 30th, and you must be 18 or older to enter. You should not say giveaway. You need to mention honey for the pattern, and you need to mention fabric and then the fabric name. What else? Anything else? It seems like I'm forgetting something important. I don't know. It seems like that's everything. I think we all know in general what's appropriate for a giveaway and what's not. But so the person who wins the fabric giveaway, you know, that'll be the name of the fabric. So that'll be pretty cool. And I'm excited about that gold color. I have ideas of things I would like to stitch on it. So both of those giveaways close on August 30th, and then I will contact the winners. Oh, I know. You can enter both giveaways, but you can only win 1. Okay. I think that's everything. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anything important. And just a couple things about my shop. I did get in the new Brenda Gervais Halloween designs. They're in my shop. I also got in the Plum Street Summer charts, a couple of them. They're awesome. And I got in some Madame Chantilly Halloween. This one has been in my stash, and I just felt like you needed it too. It's been burning a hole in my stash. This is actually a candidate for my autumn equinox start. I think it would actually be a pretty quick stitch. My friend stitched this. I think she finished it last year. And it's just awesome. So I got this one, and I've got the Black Cat and the Pumpkins Thieves. Her designs are really cute. So those are in my shop now. I decided to try ordering some Picture This Plus fabric just so that when I'm low or running out of fabric, maybe I could add some other fabrics in my shop so that if you need fabric for a project, you're able to get it. So I got in some Picture This Plus 32 count linen and 16 count Ada to just test it out and see how that goes. And then if people are interested, I can look at adding like Lugana possibly, and more counts possibly as well. So I just need time to get that stuff into inventory, and so I'm going to work on that this week. So I'll send out an email with my newsletter letting you know when it's available. Speaking of my newsletter, that's where I announce first when I have fabric in my shop, and when I announce new designs, that's the best place to find out the fastest because I always announce there first and I explain any information you need about new designs, etc. So if you'd like to sign up for my newsletter, it's linked It's listed in the video description. It's also on my Etsy shop. And I think that's it. I think that's everything. That's a pretty long video, probably. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I really appreciate all of your kind comments. Thanks for taking the time to leave them and for taking time out of your day to visit with me. And I expect to be back in a couple of weeks, probably Labor Day weekend. So I hope you have a great couple of weeks, and I'll see you soon. Take care.